After 8 straight hours in the air, serving hundreds of passengers, handling emergencies, and running an entire cabin, flight crews on long-haul routes aren't just powering through exhaustion. International aviation law actually requires them to rest. But where does that rest happen on a plane packed wall-to-wall with people, cabin baggage, and meal carts? Here's the part most passengers never think about. Directly above their heads, or hidden deep in the belly of the aircraft, there are secret sleeping quarters, and they are nowhere near as glamorous as you'd expect. Today we're going inside the hidden crew rest compartments on some of the world's largest aircraft, how crews actually get access to them, who decides when someone gets to sleep, and the unwritten rule about sharing these beds that might be one of the strangest traditions in aviation. Stick around, because this one gets weirder than you'd think. Aviation regulators are blunt about one thing: fatigue kills. Once a crew member hits a certain number of hours on duty, they legally have to rest, or the flight simply cannot operate. That's why every wide-body aircraft flying transatlantic or trans-Pacific routes is built with dedicated crew rest space engineered directly into its structure, not bolted on as an afterthought. But where that space sits, and what it actually looks like, depends entirely on the aircraft type, and airlines have made some genuinely creative engineering choices to squeeze these hidden rooms in. On the Airbus A380, crew rest is tucked into the belly of the plane, right underneath the main economy galley. It's a real compartment, with actual beds, pillows, blankets, and even its own toilet. Climate-controlled and fully private, it might honestly be the most comfortable option of the three. You reach it through a hidden stairwell off the lower deck, and once you're inside, it genuinely feels like stepping into a different aircraft entirely, far removed from the noise and chaos of 500 passengers just a few feet above your head. The Airbus A340-600 takes a similar approach. Its crew rest is also located in the belly, reached through the lower deck galley, and separated from the main cabin by a dedicated stairwell. It even includes a small sink for freshening up after a nap. Some crew members actually prefer this layout since it sits further away from passenger noise and cabin lighting. The Boeing 747-8 flips the entire layout. Its crew rest sits in the upper deck, positioned directly above the main passenger cabin. So while you're watching your in-flight movie or trying to fall asleep yourself, there's a real chance someone is resting just a few feet above your seat. And it's not just these three aircraft. Other wide bodies like the Boeing 777 and the 787 Dreamliner also have their own versions of hidden crew rest, often built into the aft section of the aircraft, above the rear galley, accessed through a narrow ladder that most passengers would never even notice, tucked into the ceiling near the last row of seats. Getting into any of these spaces isn't as simple as just opening a door. Most modern aircraft use a keypad entry system, a code known only to authorized crew members, and that code is changed regularly for security. Type it in, and the door clicks open. On some older aircraft though, it's still a physical key, hidden somewhere only senior crew members know about, sometimes tucked in a secure drawer on the flight deck. It sounds almost old-fashioned, but it works well. If you don't belong in there, you're probably never going to find it. Inside, don't expect anything close to a hotel room. It's typically a single mattress, a thin pillow, maybe two if you're lucky, and blankets that have definitely seen better days. The A380 and A340 setups lean a little more comfortable, since they're designed for longer rest periods on ultra-long-haul routes, while the 747's upper deck space is about as minimal and utilitarian as it gets. And this is where things get genuinely funny. When two crew members are assigned back-to-back to the exact same rest slot, they end up sharing a bed. There's an unwritten rule passed down through the ranks for exactly this situation. Take them double and don't remove, meaning grab 2 pillows and 2 blankets, one for each person using the space, and never take them with you when your shift ends. The next crew member coming in right after you needs them waiting there. It's basically an honor system running at 35,000 feet. Most crew members respect it without question, but every so often someone hoards an extra blanket or hides a pillow for themselves, and yes, There is genuine quiet drama in the crew room over that kind of betrayal. So who actually decides when each person gets to rest? That responsibility falls to the purser or the senior flight attendant. They're tracking duty hours, rest requirements, and whether someone is technically resting or just on what's called watch time, still on duty, still monitoring the cabin, still responding to calls, just not actively serving passengers. Being on an actual break means you're genuinely off duty and someone else has taken over covering your section completely. Your working position on the plane largely determines when you're able to rest. Forward galley crew might get the first break of the flight, but only if the aft galley team can cover their position. Mid-cabin crew might get a split rotation, but only if someone else is available to monitor that section. It's essentially a constantly shifting puzzle. Every crew member is one piece, and pulling a single piece out means someone else has to slide into place immediately to keep the minimum crew requirement satisfied at all times. Pilots operate under an entirely separate system. Their rest area sits close to the flight deck, completely separate from where cabin crew rest. On flights over 15 hours, mandatory napping windows kick in during specific phases of the flight, and by regulation, a flight attendant has to physically check on the cockpit every 15 to 30 minutes, confirming the pilots are responsive and everything is secure. Exactly how airlines handle this varies quite a bit. Before any of it happens, the purser typically sits down with the pilots ahead of time to plan it out together, staggered naps, one pilot resting at a time, and timing that genuinely works best for them. Some pairs prefer resting early in the flight while they're still tired enough to fall asleep fast. Others wait until the cabin has settled down and the meal service is finished. On shorter flights, cabin crew get their rest in a completely different way. A handful of economy seats blocked off and curtained for use during designated break periods on a rotating schedule. It's not glamorous at all. It's cramped, it's noisy, and you can hear practically everything happening in the cabin through that thin curtain. But 12 hours into a 16-hour flight, it's genuinely a lifeline. This entire system exists today because for decades, crew members simply didn't get proper rest. They'd find a corner, grab a jump seat, close their eyes, and hope for the best between service rounds. As flights got longer and longer, stretching past 15 and 16 hours non-stop, the data became impossible to ignore. Exhausted crew is a serious safety risk, capable of slowing reaction times and clouding judgment in an emergency. Regulators eventually mandated dedicated rest compartments on larger aircraft, along with required rest periods for anyone on duty 12 or more hours. And after waking up from crew rest, there's a ritual every experienced flight attendant knows by heart: getting your face back into the flight, splash some cold water, check yourself in the mirror, shake off the grogginess, and walk back out to face hundreds of passengers like you weren't just asleep behind a curtain minutes earlier. It's as much a mental reset as it is a physical one, flipping a switch from rest mode back into full service mode in a matter of seconds. The goal is always the same. Nobody should ever be able to tell you we're just asleep. From the A380's hidden belly compartment to the 747's rest area sitting directly above your head, crew rest is the invisible system quietly keeping long-haul aviation safe. It's built on strict regulation, genuine teamwork, careful scheduling, and one seriously unusual pillow agreement that most passengers will never know exists, right above or right below them, the entire flight. What's the wildest thing you didn't know about crew rest before watching this? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for flying with me today, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next one.